asked us all to do that. Very good. Excellent. So let's go ahead and get started for the day. I think just first off, let's get started with a little bit of checking everybody's comprehension and how everyone is feeling about all of the different things that we've gone over so far. So I've got a couple of things for that purpose, except now that I'm looking for them, they aren't here, which is great. I guess first thing we can just start with, were there any questions, anything that people struggled with in this last week that they wanted to go over? It could be just concepts. We could go over some of the homework questions, whatever. Yeah, anything just jumping up like that anyone wants to talk about. No, everyone's feeling great about everything in the course so far?
I don't have anything specific this week, really.
Okay, for sure. Well, then let's maybe just go through the homework and see what everyone thought about each question. Then we can do some stuff that I put together about some interesting uses for async and await and then and all that. So let me grab my little code thing here. All right, let's go ahead and share my screen. Should be this one. Great. Okay. Wait, let's get rid of this for now. Just running the test. Okay. So everyone able to see my screen? It should be a little code block, right? Everyone seeing that? Awesome. Cool. Great. Thank you. All right. Awesome. So then let me hide the meeting controls. Okay. So let's see. So here was what we were doing last week. So very first thing was to create a program called write with promises await.js. And we wanted to pretty much do that. It was similar to what we were doing last week with the reading and the writing, but this time we wanted to do it with async await. How did people feel about this one? Was this, since you had already done it sort of in a similar way, was this not too bad? Was this, how did people feel about this one? Anyone trip up on this, or was this an easy one? Well, let's see. Let's solve it. Let's solve it together and see how it goes. So what are we supposed to do here? We're supposed to create a program, right, with promises await.js. We're going to use the fs.promises package. It's fs stands for file system, and we're just going to do the promise version of the read and write that we did last week. So let's just get it rolling here. So I've got a code sandbox. I can always share this with people. I've been, as you can see, there's some stuff from previous weeks, and we'll just keep adding onto this as it goes. So, and also apologies for my very loud, clacky keyboard. So let's grab read and write file here. Write file, read file, bam, and then we got to require file system. We're going to grab specifically file system.promises. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and so what they wanted us to do was essentially create a async write function, an async read function, and then one that does both and calls them one after the other. And Sam, I'm just reading these now, so I'm looking back every so often at the chat. Sam says feeling pretty good about async. Awesome. That is good to hear. Yeah, it can be confusing for people. So knowing that it feels good right off the bat is a good sign. Let's just call this writer. Ba-bam. This might our try block. So we'll try writing some files. So this await write file. It was called temp.txt. Let's write to temp.txt. We'll just call it first line and a /n for a new line. And then control shift downward should nope. Is it alt shift down? Oh, awesome. All right. So alt shift down will clone a line here, so this will save us a little bit of time. Then we can just do second line, then Alt Shift down, and then we can just do third line. And then for these, we also want to, of course, add the append flag like we did for previous writing. Flag, A for append. Do that here too. Flag, A for append. Bada bing, bada boom. Then in case we have any errors, let's go ahead and catch that. Pass in the error. It moves console.error, not log, that's error. 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 Writing file. Actually, I like string interpolation. Let's do that instead. String interpolation. Error. Writing file. Money sign. Hopefully this is familiar to everybody this year. This is my preferred way of throwing variables right into strings, right? If you use backticks instead of quotes, you can substitute variables right in here, just like this with the money sign brackets. It's called string interpolation. All right, and then we need our reader function. So async reader. So again, let's create a try block. So cast our data to the reading of the file. So await read file. We want to read our temp.txt. Set it to UTF-8. This is supposed to be in quotes, right? Pretty sure. Yes. Okay. So then we console.log the contents of the file. Let's just say file contents. And then you can use string interpolation once again to put that in here, just like this, data. Bam. Once again, let's catch any errors we may have. Console.error. Error reading file. Error. Okay, so that's our writer, just really quick. We just await some writing, and then we await some reading. And then we console log it, and then we'll just make a third one where we do both. I think they said they wanted it to be called read write. So just simple async function read write. And then we just await both of our other functions. So await writer and await reader. And then we just should invoke read write, and it should just work. Read write. Make sure the temp.txt is empty. It's not because of before. Here we go. Bam. Unidentified async reader. Async function, obviously. Whoops. There we go. Oops, unexpected string. Oh, I did a period instead of a comma. There we go. All right, file contents. First line, second line, third line, line. Did I write the word line somewhere? I did. There we go. Let's clear that out. Oh yeah, okay, it just did it automatically. Cool. All right, nice. Here we go. First one, no real problem. It's feeling good?
So I have a question regarding the you added flag A. What does
Yes.
it mean right there?
Oh, so the A flag is short for append, which means it's appending to the end instead of rewriting the file completely. Instead of because normally this would do something like instead of just adding second line, third line, it would just rewrite what was first line here and just rewrite it to say second line.
Okay.
And so we don't want that. So we want to append it to the end. Appending is just, yeah, it's used several times in JavaScript. It just means, yeah, to just tack it onto the end.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All
Can
right.
I ask like a broader question too?
Sure, I'd love a broad question.
Like I'm understanding like these little, right, like little questions, and like I can understand what this is doing, how it's writing, like that sort of thing. Like I can get through that and it makes sense. But I feel like what my brain isn't wrapping around is like how this works in a broader picture. And I feel like, yeah, so like some of the like later questions got a little trickier, but I almost feel like it's because I'm not understanding like large scale application to how this works, if that
Sure.
makes sense.
No, totally. I was
Like,
actually sorry, please finish.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, in like a real world, like instance or use of this sort of thing to like kind of bridge that for my brain.
Sure, totally. Yeah. Well, I could talk about my last job because, hey, it's okay, buddy. I can't really discuss too many details of my last job because it was for the government. But we would directly we had a little box that did stuff, and then it would expose an API endpoint to us. And we talked. I know we probably talked at least a little bit about APIs in the instructional courses so far, but an API is a very broad term, but how we think of it most of the time is it's basically like a URL that we can grab from and then get data from the internet. Of course, APIs can do a ton of things. I don't want you to think that that's what APIs do, but that is a function of APIs. And when you're grabbing from an API, it's going to take a second because it's going to come in from somewhere else in the internet, right? Say, for example, you are making some kind of movie app, right? You're like it's sort of like an app to talk about your favorite movies, and you post them up on your profile and stuff. And of course, you got to go to the app website, and you've got to get a list of all the movies, and then take them and put them in your favorite like playlists or something like that, right? Now, for example, say that you wanted to save your favorite movies to a playlist. Now, you wouldn't be able to, and say you've got some code that's just basically, for simplicity's sake, it's just like save this bunch of movies, right? Now, JavaScript and most code obviously runs super duper quick, right? Like fractions of a second. But grabbing stuff from the internet takes more than a couple fractions of a second. And so if that code were just to run and say, hey, save those movies are not going to be there in that moment when that code is running. It's going to take another couple seconds, probably not very long, hopefully, but a couple seconds. And so you'll want to go and grab, and you're going to want to wait for the movies to come in and then save them. And this can happen all the time. Like if you open like Facebook or something, I would open up my Facebook to show you an example, but God knows what's going to be on there. But when you like open Facebook or some other app like that, and it'll be like almost like a skeleton of a post. You see that before, right? It's like where it's like it's just like gray and like maybe like pulsing or spinning, something like that. You've seen that before?
Yes, yeah, or like it hasn't loaded yet,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it knows something's gonna go there.
Exactly. That's a large scale application of that is that it is happening, right? It's pulling this, but and it doesn't want to just like freeze and wait, right? So it's pulling this thing, it's waiting for it to happen, and something else is running in the meantime. Because normally JavaScript was referred to as single thread, which means only one thing can happen at a time. But obviously we want multiple things to happen at one time. So we wouldn't even be able to have that like skeleton loading screen and also grab from all of your posts from all your friends at the same time if it weren't for asynchronicity. It's saying, hey, go ahead and grab all those posts, and in the meantime, let's go ahead and show them this thing, and then once it's done, then put that on as the Facebook feed.
So then in this instance, our node is going to be back end, and like that like async function is going to be talking to something else on the front end. Is that right?
Yeah, totally, right? Like we're maybe going to have like a database, right? And it's going to take us and say it's like hosted on the cloud or something. We're just storing something, and we want to bring up someone's profile, right? And their profile is being stored in the database, right? It's not just like living there on the front end, right? It needs to take a second to find whose profile am I looking for, what information is on there. We want to grab that from the database, but that's, again, it's going to be pretty fast, but it's not going to show up immediately as soon as the code is running. So we're saying, hey, give us a second to grab all this person's profile information from the database through Node Express. And then on the front end, once it's good to go, then you can load the actual page and display all the information. Because otherwise it's gonna, if you say, for example, if you weren't doing that and you had a page that just said display, Gabe's, profile, and that didn't exist at that time, you would just get an error message, and then the page would just be a bunch of error messages.
Okay, can I ask one more follow-up question to that?
Please
'Cause
do,
you
totally.
mentioned Express.
Yeah.
And so is Express like kind of like Ruby on Rails? You have like Ruby with Rails and like those work together. Is that how Express is with Node?
I don't think I've ever seen Express used outside of Node. They are pretty hand in hand, helping your like backend server operate.
Okay. And then in most Node, like because Node is backend, in most apps that have a backend with Node, what is generally the front end language? Is it just JavaScript with
Um,
React?
Yeah, you can use React is the big popular one, I would say. There's of course like what's it called? Acronyms for all the various stacks. The super big popular one that a lot of like these big giant companies run on is called MERN, which is short for Mongo, Express, React, and Node, right? So Mongo is the database, Express is working with Node, and then React is the front end.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's MERN, there's PERN for Postgres, which is another database, instead of Mongo, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, those are React is going to be a big popular one, or something else to that effect.
And then, sorry, that made me have one more question, if I might.
Sure, go for it. Go for it.
Is there like a standard database that like is generally with Node? Like if you're setting up a database alongside Node, is there one that's like the standard default, or is it whichever you choose?
It's when I would joke a lot at my old job at General Assembly when I would be teaching students there, is that the answer to most questions in code is unfortunately it depends. And I think the big one would depend on, I mean, obviously MERN is super popular, which means that MongoDB is a super popular option, but it would be a very unpopular option if it's not what you're looking for. And that would, go in further into you choosing what you want out of your app. For example, I think the big one would be the question of whether you want a what's called a SQL, right, a relational database, or a NoSQL database. MongoDB is what's referred to as a NoSQL database, which for the purposes of not getting too deep into it at this point, just means that you can be a little bit more willy-nilly about the structure of your data in your database. So if maybe you're making an app that you're not even sure what it's going to be or what it's going to have in there, that's why Mongo is super popular, is because maybe we're going to pivot to something, or maybe we're going to add something else, and we don't have to. And since Mongo is a little bit more, allows you to be willy-nilly, don't have to burn down the entire database just to restructure it for like one little thing. But if you know, for example, this is what my app is going to be, maybe you would want something more structured in SQL language, and that's where something like the PERN stack that I mentioned earlier, Postgres, which is a SQL database, that's where that would come in.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions. I'm just sort of going through this, just to review it. But if someone has any questions or wants to talk about anything else, feel free. This is your review time, not just, go over homework time. Yeah. So they wanted us to next just rewrite this in .then. So let's do that. So I think most of this should be needing to be rewritten. Pretty much just we're keeping the write and read file. So let's go ahead and we're just going to write file and do some .then. So we're going to write file. We're going to write it to temp.txt, of course. First line, once again, new line. And then let's do some .thens. .then. I'm so not used to typing on my PC though. I usually type on my laptop, coding on my laptop. So working on my computer is super weird to me. So I make a lot of mistakes. Let's see here. So let's make a nice, cool arrow function. Everyone loves arrow functions. So we're going to return something. We're going to return another write file. And we're just going to chain this a bunch of times until we feel satisfied. So let's just write file a second time. Yeah, we want to write to temp.txt again. Just write the second line here. I guess this technically should be like right after it. Let's do that here. New line right after it. And then, of course, let's not forget our flag so that we can know to append to the end. And then we're going to keep doing it again. Woo. Not when. Whoopsies. There we go. Same thing. Return, write file. I did temp here, I'm just noticing. Temp.txt. My brain autocorrects so often. Let's see here. Let's do third line. Make sure to add our flag. A. Cool. And then we want to read the file. So dot then again. So then we want to return a reading of the file. Reading temp, not temp.txt. It is comma UTF-8. Oh, just noticing this. Return dot then. We want to do then. So we've got some data. Right? We've got some data to work with. We're just going to call it data. My D key is starting to go. We've got our data. And of course, this is this data here is referring to what's being returned from the read file. So it should just be the contents of temp.txt. And we can just console log it. Console.log, string interpolation, my favorite. File, contents, boop, and then just money, brackets, data. Data is the common word used here, but you could use pretty much anything. Back at General Assembly, we would call this taco, which just means that it could be called taco, and this would make no difference. It just doesn't need to be any special type of word. It just needs to be a word that is descriptive of what's going on. Taco is not descriptive, so we will switch it back to data. But just so you know, why is it called data? Why is this word here? It's just because it's the common word that is used, but it is completely up to you. If you were to be working with something specific, right? Like if this were like a recipe app, then you could totally name this recipe or something, and then so it would be a little bit clearer for you what it is. All right, so that is all of our thens, and then we got, of course, catch any errors. Error. Again, error here is also taco. You could call this taco and then just make sure to console log taco instead of error. But of course, error is a little bit more descriptive of what's going on. And error occurred. Oops. Here it is. And then just log it here. Error. People will also shorten it to ERR for error. I kind of like that personally a little bit more. Saves us, a couple lines. And there we go. I saved it. It ran. Beautiful. So what this can obviously get a little bit complicated and complex. All these dot thens. People have names for this. They either call it callback hell, sometimes like then hell or then chain hell, because yeah, this seems like doing way too much, right? This seems like not helpful when you could just have like one nice block of async await, and that just does the exact same thing. But that's actually something I wanted to talk about a little bit today, taking a bit of a break from the homework to show you an example of when this would actually be nice for debugging purposes. All right, so we're going to just get rid of pretty much all this. Because sometimes, especially on bigger apps, you're going to have asynchronous operations occurring, obviously. And one of the issues with doing that, right, and you've got your console logging everywhere to check to see if there's any errors. Since it's asynchronous in nature, depending on where the console log is, or just where the error occurs, it might not be very helpful and very descriptive of helping you figure out where the issue is. So let's simulate that real quick. So I'm going to create a quick function. I'm going to call it fake fetch, just assuming we're fetching some magic thing from the internet. It's going to have a just an input parameter here. This is just going to be something that I'm going to fill in to simulate an error here in a second. Right, so we're just going to return a new promise. Right, it's like the promise object. So we need our resolve and our reject. So these are just like fill the base parameters that promise is expecting for what happens when it resolves or when it needs to be rejected. This will make more sense in just a second here. So we're going to set a timeout, just a quick little timeout here. So it runs through. It's going to run through a couple different things, and then it's going to hit an error, and then that error is not going to be very helpful in async. But then we're going to rewrite it to a bunch of .thens, and we're going to figure out where the issue is. Right? So here's what we're doing. So we're going to reject the promise and throw an error. Oh wait, I also just realized I just did time out. And we also don't have a condition for this. So if our input, right, this input that we're going to simulate right here is equal to bad, just like the word bad, we're going to reject this this promise. Right, so we're going to reject. It's going to throw, what's going to happen when we reject, we're going to throw a new error, and that error is going to say invalid input. All right, otherwise it's just going to resolve. And what's going to happen when we resolve, when we succeed, it's just going to say fetched. And then we're just going to say the input. All right. And then we need our, where's our timeout going? Here, it's here. Let's give it this. So it'll cycle through each of our instances every half a second or so. All right. So if this was a little confusing, let me show you what we're doing here, right? So we're just going to make a quick async function. I'm just going to call it run just for the purposes of making it nice and simple. So what this run function is going to do is going to run through a couple different inputs, versions of this input here. And one of them is going to be bad, right? Which is in Valdi. I just noticed I wrote in Valdi here. So we're going to try a couple different things. So first, let's just call these each a step. So step one, we're going to await. We're going to run our fake fetch with the input of good, right? So that's not going to have any issues, right? So we only reject when it's bad, when the value of input is just the word bad. So this should be fine. I'll even put a little fine. No problems. But we do have an issue when we get to step two. Because we're going to wait running fake fetch a second time. This is going to be bad. Throws us an error. Just for the sake of having another one. Oh, whoopsies. Throws us an error. Cool. And then let's make another one, step three. Because this would probably be how it is in real life. Let's await one more version of our fetch. Let's just call it still good. It's fine. Also no problems. Let's catch any errors. Console.log caught error. Then right here. Okay, so again, what's happening here? We're simulating a fake fetch, sort of like what Sam was talking about. This is simulating a real, production level time where we're grabbing something maybe from the internet or a database or something, and we've got a condition for if it has this certain value, we reject this promise, right? We don't want this. Something goes wrong. This is to simulate, something going wrong in our code, because I don't want to actually create something too confusing. So only if it's the input is equal bad, then we're going to throw an error. Otherwise, no matter what it is, it's going to just resolve and just tell us that we're fine. All right, so let's go ahead and invoke this. And we'll I'm going to invoke the run, and we'll see what happens here. Oh no, look at that. Caught error, invalid input. But here's the problem. Where if this were, thousands of lines of code, how would we possibly be able to tell where the error happened? It just says error, invalid input. We have no idea where it was, right? So we can maybe see how this would be a huge issue. Because say there were just 3 steps here. What if there were like 100 steps or 500 steps? That could easily be the case in like a much larger business, right? So you don't want to comb through each and every one, check for like spelling errors and all that stuff. So let's rewrite it with some .thens to make it a little bit more clear. All right, so let's just get rid of all of this. I think I should be able to do this. Oh, that was terrible. You used to be able to, is it like this? No, okay. Well, there used to be a way that you could just make everything a comment, but now I'm just going to get rid of it. All right, so now we're going to do it with .then, and it should make it a little bit clearer what's happening here. So let's run fake fetch with the input of good, right? So this is no problem, right? So this should be just fine. We're going to then. We're just going to call it result1. This again could be anything. This name here, we're just feeding it the name result1 because it's the first result. We're going to console.log it. Step 1 success. And then let's just console log the results of this first run of fake fetch, which is stored in this result1. Result1. Okay, and then we want to return something so that we can then work with our second .then. Let's return another running of fake fetch, just like we were doing for our homework. Return fake fetch, but this time, check it out, we're going to do that bad. Then now let's just call this one result2, because it's the second result. Pretty much exact same thing. I'm actually even going to save some time, I'm going to copy this, I'm going to paste it, and then just change these. Result2 success, result2, and then what we call it, we did still good. And then let's just do this a third time. Then result3. Trying to keep up with me. All right. And then just console.log step 3 success. That's an L. Money brackets result3. Whoopsies, result3. Yeah, and we're not going to do any more returns because that's it. And then let's just catch, just in case we have any errors, which obviously we will. That's the point. So let's console.log caught an error in one of our steps. Here it is. All right. Bam. So now this should just run, and we should get a little bit more descriptive. Whoopsies, I'm clearly got a extra, oh, because it's nothing. Error, there we go. Then is not, oh, there's not a dot here. Okay, so now we can see. So what happened? Step 1 success, fetched good, right? Because that was the input we have here. And then so good was our parameter. That was the result 1. Then that got put here. And then we did our second one, fake fetch with bad. And then we tried to run this. It read that the input was bad, the word bad, which we have in this function set to, if it's, of course, the word bad, we run a rejection instead. And so then it went straight to our catch, and then it told us the error. So now with this one, of course, we're in a callback hell now, but we were able to refactor our code to say, okay, step 1 happened, and then the error happened when step 2 was running. So we were able to quickly identify the problem. And, this could be any size you want. And we would be able to just as quickly figure out where the problem our code was. So this is a sort of another real life example of, if we're wondering, when would you want to use async? When would you want to use .then? Of course, .then can have a lot of annoying callback issues, but we can also isolate each step in the process a little bit better. Yeah, was this too confusing? Did this make sense to people? Was this helpful at all? I'd love any feedback about how people are feeling about all of this example here. Yes, no? Okay, people are getting it. All right, that's good. I also apologize if I'm talking too fast. I end up doing that a lot. Feel free to just tell me to slow down. It was one of my main pieces of critique back at a General Assembly. So I doubt I got better since then. I'd like to think so, but I still can make mistakes, as we all know. So, okay, I'm good. Great, great, great. Just want to make sure. And even if you're thinking I'm going too fast and maybe you're worried that other people don't think I'm going too fast, you should still ask. Okay, great. So this is a fun, cool, pretty easy example of how we would want to change our code if we're running into issues of our errors not being very descriptive. Let's see, what else? What else? I guess we can go back to the homework, although I think that was the big one, right? We did the write with promises, and we did it with then also. A lot of them were just like you running them to sort of see what was going on in a lot of them. We did a custom emitter. Did anyone do anything cool and fun for the custom emitter? Anyone happy with some of the functions that they wrote for the fourth assignment, the custom emitter.js? What do people do? Anybody want to volunteer something that they did in that homework assignment? That's okay. Can't remember them. That's all right. Let's maybe make one together just for funsies. All right. So we needed a I think it was like this, right? Const event emitter, and then we require events. I might not be able to do this because I'm writing in CodePen or Code Sandbox, but I think it works. Const emitter equals new event emitter. It was like this, right? I actually literally don't remember. Someone help me, remind me. Is this fine? It's saying that it's running and no errors. Is this good? Was this how it worked? I genuinely don't recall. I don't want to swap away from my thing. Okay, we're looking good. Cool. So then this is like a simple greeting, of course. That's a pretty easy one. So emitter. So on the event known as greet, let's run a callback function. Let's grab a name. So that's going to be our one parameter for our callback function. So that's console.log backticks, of course, for string interpolation. Hello, money bracket name. And then let's let the system know that we greeted somebody, for any kind of purposes like that. Emitter.emit will emit the greeted and just say that we greeted with that name. Cool. So that's now running. Now it's waiting for that. And then let's do something for the greeted, right? So it's emitter dot on whoopsies on greeted. Oops. On whoopsies, come on. Wow. On greeted. Let's take that name again. Let's console.log. Just let the system know that someone was greeted, right? So money bracket name was greeted. There we go. Very cool. All right. Nice, neat. So all of these should be working just fine. Let's see, what else should we do? Let's get crazy with it. Who wants to get crazy with it? Anyone? Anyone else besides me want to get kind of crazy with these event emitters? I already know y'all want to get crazy with it. See, he wants to get crazy with it too. All right, let's do some async promise-based stuff. All right. So, all right, we want to get crazy with it. Sweet, sweet. I knew it wasn't just me. All right, so let's make a function where we're waiting for an event to happen, right? And we're just kind of going to call it wait for event. All right. Quick arrow function here. So we're going to return a new promise. We don't need to reject this, so we're just going to feed it the resolve. And so emitter dot once, which is similar to on, except it just happens once. Let's get crazy with it. Let's jump out and surprise the user, right? So let's make a surprise event. And then it will, once it finds the surprise event, then we'll resolve. So what's our new surprise going to be? Let's wait for an event, right? So I don't want to just call it wait because it's too close to await. Do wait. There we go. I'm a genius. Async. So let's set our previous wait for event and our return and that emission. Let's set that to a message here that we can send to our user to surprise them. So let's await that wait for event. It's okay, buddy. I know we're getting crazy with it, but it's fine. All right. This console.log surprise event received. Received. Oh, wait, I used quotes to the backticks again. Bam. And then let's go ahead and just put that message in. All right. And then let's invoke do wait. And let's maybe wait a second, because of course we want to wait and then jump out at them, right? So let's set a timeout. Whoa, that was an autocomplete and it, okay, processing this. Okay, so let's wait just like a second and a half, 1500 milliseconds. And then let's emit for our surprise that we're set up here. Let's just go boo. Just scare him. Boo. Boo. There it goes. Got him. They did not see that coming. I guarantee it. So fun stuff that we can do with events here. Awesome. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left in today's lesson. We went over a little bit of the homework. We had some great conversation about a couple different things about async and its usages in a obviously more realistic scenario. Anything else that people had? Any questions? Anything that they wanted help with these last couple minutes? I'm all ears. Your time. Technically, all of this is your time, but even more so now. Okay. Well, no questions here. Cool, cool. I was told to wait an awkward amount of time for questions, so that's what that was. I put in the chat, if anyone is curious, the link to the code sandbox. Let's make sure it works. So I just clicked it just now. Hooray. And so y'all can look at it and mess around with it yourself if you want. I would probably go ahead and fork it, right? So you're messing around with it doesn't affect my version of it, which would be nice. But yeah, feel free to mess around with this or any of the other things that we wrote in here. Well, I guess I deleted all of it, sorry. But you should even be able to like just go backwards through time to some of the previous stuff that we did. I should just be making more files so that we can test each thing individually. I'll do that. I'll do that better for next time. Didn't work. Oh no. Which part of it didn't work? Oh, I did it again. See, someone is here with me. Well, that's me. Interesting. The link. Well, maybe it's because I'm the owner. Let's see if I can't. I can share it. Here we go. There. Oh, because it's private, obviously, of course. Oh, thanks so much for coming through. Bam, there we go. So this should work a little bit better, hopefully. Well, now Fong shows up. Where were you an hour ago, man? Interesting. Let's see. Let's just make it public. There we go. Default editor. Here we go. I don't think I'll be doing it live. Oh, that is kind of cool. Maybe we could try that one time. That would be fun. Okay, so let's try this. What about that time? Now that it's oh, I see more people. I see anonymous individuals in my code. Okay, yeah, it just needed to be public. Cool. All right. Well, maybe next time we can try a fun live thing where we all worked on some code together. That would be cool, right? Nice. We'll try some of that. I didn't even know that Code Sandbox did that. So we've got some fun stuff for next time. So make sure to tune in. Come through. But yeah, I don't want to take up any more of your precious time. Thanks so much for coming by. I hope this was helpful. And if not, or you had any more questions, please feel free, of course, to send me a message on Slack. Even if I'm not your reviewer or one of your instructors, I am one of the group mentors, and I would love to be asked any kinds of questions you have about code. Wow, there's so many people on this code now. All right. With that, I will end it for today. But again, thanks so much, and hope to see you next time. Wow, I sound like a YouTuber or something.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
bro.
No problem, of course.
Bye.
Stop the recording.